This is, okay, in the manual, all of this stuff is referenced, okay? And the links, if you find any problems with the links in the footnotes, just let me know, okay, so we can correct them. So this is in Scotland, from the Court of Sessions, which
Is that binding on in English?
basically all of this stuff that they've quoted comes out of English law.
Okay.
All of that stuff you'll find in appeal court and Supreme Court cases. They combine all of that. So, if something hasn't got a good reason, so, COVID-19, is there a good reason for it? Yes or no? How would we establish if there's a good reason?
Well, the result.
Does it exist?
Yeah.
Prove it's a real thing.
Yeah.
Evidence.
Prove that it causes unique harm. Why? Because if it doesn't cause unique harm, it's not something new that we've not dealt with before. And that it's transmissible. Okay? So that's what they need to test, to prove. And when you read the Coronavirus Act 2020, it tells you the presumption, when it can be used. SARS-CoV-2 exists, causes unique harm, and it is transmissible. That is their stated legitimate aim. The first section in the legislation says it exists. Well, prove it exists. Prove it, prove it, prove it. Because if you can't do that, all the rest you can't use. So by way of an example, when we started getting involved with the anti-fracking stuff, okay, before we went up to Kirby Miskelton, they were saying, in accordance with the Trade Unions Act, we can arrest you if you don't do what we say. So I brought the Trade Unions Act and went through it. The introductory text, and we'll go through this, says be enacted by blah, 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 blah. So the first question to the police is, where's your name and my name? Where's the joinder between me and you who's trying to impose your will on me? That's way over their heads. However, the next page has got section 1. Which trade union do you believe I'm a member of? It only applies to trade union members. I.e., they made the claim, in accordance with this, I can impose my will on you. What did I do? Prove your claim. I rebutted the authority. Guess what? They never asked me again. They physically detained me and still that. Okay? But there's nothing I can do about it, or at the time I didn't know what I can do about it. But they kept on hassling everybody else with it. Why? Because they hadn't rebutted it. However, because I rebutted it, they should have stopped. Because they know they've got no lawful authority. Guess what they did? They went back to Gold Command that night, and the next day, oh, in accordance with obstruction of the traffic. So when the copper came to me, it was like, just down this little country lane, did you see any, what I'm obstructing from that side? No, nor can I. Do you see anybody I'm obstructing from that side? No, nor can I. But those two police vans, which are parked on the grass virgin halfway in the road, they're definitely obstructing the traffic. I suggest you go and speak to them and move them on, which they did. Okay? They left me alone, and everybody else they were doing for obstruction of the highway. So back to Gold Command, and the third day they said, oh, Mark, it's for your health and safety. Okay? So this stuff works. This is how it works. So what they do is, they come, they say, you've got to move because of blah-de-blah-de-blah. If it's not rebutted, okay, they'll give you a reasonable chance. Okay, they'll come back 10 minutes later. Hey, I asked you to move, mate. You got 5 minutes to move. If you don't rebut it, they come back and say, look, we've given you 2 chances. Here's your final warning, your 3rd notice. Okay? If you don't move now, we'll physically move you. If you don't rebut it, they will physically remove you. Okay? So that's the 3 notices, and it works. So you question the legitimate aim. prove your claim. I'm not making the claim, you are. I'm innocent until proven guilty. The obligation is on you. Show me you've considered all reasonable options. And show me that what you're asking me to do is the most proportionate. And guess what? If you can't show me that, then your actions are irrational and hence unlawful. And I can't find a better definition of irrationality than Lord Diplock. Lord Diplock, you'll see we've got a lot of his stuff because he was actually a really good jurist. So, irrationality is any decision so outrageous in its defiance of logic or of accepted moral standard that no sensible person who had applied his mind to the question to be decided could have arrived at it. What a beautiful explanation of irrationality.
Can you read that again?
Yeah.
It's not. God's still thinking
So outrageous in its defiance of logic or accepted moral standards that no sensible person who'd applied their mind to the question to be decided could have arrived at that decision. What a beautiful explanation of irrationality. So what we've seen is when self-defense, our survival instinct is there, that's always lawful excuse. Once we get beyond that, it's down to logic and reason, rationality. Our conscience dictates right from wrong, and just don't let your head get in the way, because your head will make thousands of crappy excuses as to why a wrong you did because of your self-interest, your ego. Okay? That's what messes the whole thing up. So it's about following the conscience. Everybody has the right to follow their conscience because the conscience dictates right from wrong. And if there's a wrong, then you need to stop once you know that you're causing another harm. And that's how simple the whole thing is, honestly. That simple. As soon as you see somebody's doing the wrong, they're breaching the peace. We're all entitled to the peace. End of. So, quite simply, if we look at law, okay, what we see is it's self-evident, i.e. it's self-discoverable by anybody that chooses to apply their mind to the question. To lie is to go against the mind. That is so that we understand our respective duties, rights and obligations to one another. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. Why? Truth is sovereign, not people. Truth will always prevail. Okay? And all are equal under the law means...
Sorry, can we go back to that? Ignorance of the law is no excuse.
Yeah.
Am I being too literal here? That there is a law.
There's a greater law.
Yeah. And ignorance of it is no excuse.
Why? The due process of law will carry on. Okay? Just now when you look at innocent until proven guilty, remind me, I'll show you. And all are equal under the law means what one can do, all can do. No such thing as privilege. And guess what? The Statute of Monopolies 1623 says exactly that. So Parliament has assembled, even supports all of this stuff. No one is above the law, i.e. there's no immunity. When we cause a wrong, when we do harm, we must provide remedy for it. The law operates without fear or favour. Now that there is the due process of law. And then finally, innocent until proven guilty, the claimant must prove their case. So let's just look at a basic application of this. Because that's all you need to know. That's it. Anybody comes up to you and says, "Oi, you can't do this." If it's a policeman, you simply say, "Can I go up to Dwayne and do what you're doing to me?" If the answer is no, then your actions are not lawful. That's how simple it is. Okay? So basically, if people believe legislation is law, from what we've looked at so far, let's just look at a really simple example. Law is about a truth, something which stands the test of time, truth. Hence the, Justice of Peace Act, all of this stuff. It's hundreds of years old, what I've quoted to you. Right, if Parliament decided, next April 1st, everybody must step off the cliffs of Dover. Act of Parliament, Cliff of Dover Act 2023. Right, who would do it? Nobody?
Some would.
Okay. I would even challenge that people who wear masks would not do it. Why? Because innately they know if they do that, this will happen. So whether I believe legislation is law, okay, I can lie to myself as much as I like. If I don't understand the consequences, do you think that makes any difference? So, all are equal under the law. Will the same thing happen to everybody? Nobody's above the law. Will some people be somehow saved? And will the law act differently upon different people? And innocent until proven guilty. So, doesn't matter what I believe, I take that step over the cliff. What's going to happen next?
Bye-bye.
Ignorance of the law, I don't know about gravity. So, all are equal under the law. It'll happen to everybody that steps over it. Nobody's above the law. It'll happen to everybody. It'll operate without fear of favour. And guess what? You'll only be judged innocent until guilty when you hit the bottom. Okay? So, that is it. That's what it all boils down to. And this is what we innately need to know. Okay? The standing, though, when you're arguing with a big bully, a policeman in your face, or in the court with judges and barristers, the standing is the depth, but this is it. Okay? That's what it boils down to. Okay, so that's the first bit. So let's have a break for half an hour. There's some sandwich stuff here for people, just make some sandwiches and that. And then we'll get on with it. Anybody got any questions so far? Anybody rebut anything that you've seen so far?
Yeah.
I'm sorry I shouted at that bloke.
I know you can shout at me anytime you want. Thick skin, man. My dad was really. I don't want to.
Of course it's not law.
I'm a cheeky, but.
Okay, so sandwiches, there's bread, there's butter, there's cheese, there's whatever down there. Do help yourselves.